People always want to know, Swim, you do the meta Mondays. You do the deck meta, but what about the emote meta, Swim? And as a resident emote master myself, I'm here to spread my enlightenment and bestow unto you the wisdom of the high-level emote meta. Prepare for some hot fucking takes, boys. Alright guys, it's that time again. Let me know in the comments down below if you agreed. I would highly recommend hit the subscribe button. And this is a big one. And smash that like button. And I'll see you guys next time. Okay, Legends of Runeterra, emote tier maker. We're just gonna use tier maker for this. Before we begin, I must break down the rules. Okay? The criteria. A good emote needs to be flexible. It needs to be optionally ironic. And I would say that a downplayment and inexpressiveness is really quite important. There's a lot of emotes that I personally will always find cringy, and I would never recommend going for the cringe approach. There's a lot of situationality in emotes. There's certain emotes that do have the ability to alter your opponent's, perception of the game via a bluff. And this would be true candidates. The only two I can really think of are Darius and Lonely Poro that have actual win rates. Unironically. Like, I've talked with people about this. Like, I've won games off of these emotes. People have won games off of these emotes. It's an actual thing. Okay? And BM potential is very important because there's nothing that gets me off more in a card game than queuing up onto ranked ladder with a fresh net deck and drawing like the easiest strategy ever and BMing my opponent off the face of the planet. I don't understand why you would play card games if you can't get off to that. I see cringiness everywhere because apparently it's high school all over again. Okay? And I will rank many emotes that are overly expressive and feel very useless as being F tier for that reason. Okay? I think it is very important to maintain... Okay, look, listen, we're all gamers, right? We're all gamers here. We don't do expression, right? Like, I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. If we're talking on Discord and I say the word Lamau, my face is going to look like this. I'm not actually going to be laughing. Okay? That's the thing. We're all gamers. We're all at least a little bit dead inside and at least a little bit aware of it. So we're going to be opting for emotes that are going to be low expression, right? Because we see emotionality as weakness. This is gamer culture. And now I'm going to do something that you guys also know, and I'm gonna put Cythria and the emote, the little foxtail, in S, okay? Now, I'm not gonna save this for some big twist reveal. I know people like saving the S's for last. The thing is, you guys already know that I think these are S's. Okay? You guys will be surprised by some things later. But you guys already know that I think these are S's. Because they are insanely versatile. Like, you can actually use them in so many different ways. The Cythria emote can represent, I mean, it's kind of cringe. So it can be used as some form of, like anxiety or nervousness. It can be used as a sort of like mocking the opponent for like, oh, look at my big dick board state, right? Cythria A tier. We'll make arguments later. I will say, I know some of you guys aren't on board with Cythria, and I will say I wasn't at first either. I never loved Cythria, but she just hits so many situations. The emote has also recently really impressed me. It is insane. The BM potential on this emote is actually absurd for the ability to respond to... Well, first of all, it's a bit versatile. Second of all, it's great when the opponent does something strange. A good example is when they play like, you know, a weird card, or when they make like a kind of obvious misplay, like a certain block or a certain attack, like a misplay that's not dependent on hand states or hidden information, like just like, you know, something obvious. The Huh emote is perfect, absolutely insane. It is just the right amount of like subtlety and like low expression to be very infuriating, right? You don't want to be too over the top. That is my perspective on emotes. Huh is just like question mark? Yes, exactly. Huh is like a question mark. Huh is the closest thing you can get to the pure visual, visceral response that a question mark will evoke from any online game. Like if I'm playing League of Legends, you know, my team goes in for a fight and they expect me to be there, and I use my superior game sense to recognize that fight is no good, and when they feed, I throw them a question mark. Or, you know, I'm playing League of Legends, I go in for a team fight, which is good if my teammates are there, and they don't join me, I die, I throw them a question mark. When I'm passive, when I'm farming, my team goes in, okay, they feed, I throw them a question mark. This communicates to them that I think they're a trash player. This is how MOBAs work, baby. This is MOBA mentality. They throw me two question marks back. Which communicates to me that they are a trash player and I need to babysit them more, right? Then we've got our A tier emotes. I have to put Lonely Poro and Darius here. These emotes are great. I see a lot of people making the mistake of replacing them because they're starter emotes and people want to upgrade starters. These are the two best starters in the entire game, bar none. They have the ability to, like I said, you know, swing opponents' decision making, and they're just really unique. They express things that like other emotes don't really have the ability to express. They're very, very low key, super, super underrated, absolutely underrated. Braum is god tier. So on the question of Braum, and I'm gonna kind of let you guys decide the order that we're doing things in. I will put Braum. It's so close. It's actually so close. I will put Braum in B tier. It's really close between A and B for me. It's really, really, really close. It's solid. Don't get me wrong. It is probably, out of all the sort of like overly expressive emotes, I would say that Braum is the best by far, right? It is an emote that you can use, but it's a little rude. B for Braum. This is a Huh moment? Question mark? This is the most tilting emote? Guys, I know. It's so rude. How are you? You guys are actual Braum emoters? That's so toxic. Oh my god. I raised you guys better than this. Do you guys actually equip Braum? Okay, this one, absolute F. Like mega cringe. Nothing more to be had here. Nothing more to be had here. Here's the thing, guys. You're not cool for doing an I've pressed my button emote. I'm gonna give you guys another example of this. The Yasuo emote. If you use Yasuo emote, congratulations. You are a gamer that knows how to press your button. If you're playing like fucking deep and you're running harrowing and like you're about to win to your harrowing, yeah, you can use Into My Trap pre-harrowing. That's kind of funny. Because it's like, holy shit, this dumbass is actually running harrowing and he's actually about to win with it. That's hilarious. That's like mind meld, yeah, shit like that. I think that's fine. If that's your play, if you build decks like that are running like highly irregular cards and you're commenting on that, I think that's totally fine. I've never seen these really used in that way, and most people really overrate them because of that. Fiora, I'm not gonna lie, is pretty lukewarm. I'm gonna go ahead and put her in C tier. I think she could be D. She is not really great, not really applicable. Fiora's F. Honestly, she might be closer to F. It really depends on the scale. You know what? I will call her D. I think she is a straight up D. I do agree with that. She's just not really applicable. I would say that how I want the scale to be is D tier are gonna be things that have like low functionality. And for example, I would personally think about ranking Gangplank at D tier if it's just like something that I don't find to be a very inspired concept, or just feels like it can't really be used. And F tier is reserved for stuff that I would actively avoid using because it is just kind of like cringy and it is like actively negative, right? Gangplank I put in C. I don't like Gangplank. I personally don't rate Gangplank very high. I hate Gangplank. I wouldn't use it, but it does have unique applications that are ahead of stuff like Fiora at least. You know, my opponent's roping because I queued into Swim, and I'm fucking thinking about conceding because he ropes like 40 seconds every turn. I'm going to spam him with Gangplank emotes, and that's going to make me feel better about the situation, right? It's not impossible that I will end up shifting some things around in, like, at the end. I think Vlad is one of the better ones. It is pretty versatile. I would be fairly happy putting Vlad in A. It is a pretty unique emote. It can even double as like a hello emote at the start of the game. You know, if you don't want to run Braum, if you're not like toxic. Vlad's solid. You can use him when the opponent misplays as a sort of, you know, oh, thank you. Teehee, kind of like, sort of like shit eating, kind of like, oh, thanks kind of thing, which is fine. And you can use it as a GG at the end, right? So I'm very happy with Vlad just being a solid A tier emo. So I will say I haven't had a chance to play around with Wink yet. I might be misevaluating this because I have to go purely off of theory. I will tentatively put it in A because I do like it. I don't love it. I will tentatively put it in A, but I might eventually move it down to B. It's either A or B for me. Maybe I'll keep it B for now and then move it back up if it starts impressing me. I'm very, very happy to put Heimerdinger at A. Heimerdinger is a solid addition at A tier. I might end up with too many A's. I might have to like restructure this. Like, it's so hard to find room for Quinn, Heimer, and Ha, because a lot of them are sort of overlapping. It's like, Heimer's good, but how do you make room for it? Like, you like Heimer, and I like Heimer, but be honest. Are you able to make room for Heimer? Are you running Heimer? I'm not. I couldn't make room for it. Out of all the high expression ones, at least for me, is one of the better ones. I don't love it, but I wouldn't put it in F. I would put it in D at least. She wants to step on me, put her higher. There's no way Elise is a tier lower than Gangplank. I actually agree with that. I actually do agree with that. Elise does have to be like, at least Gangplank level. Maybe Elise is C tier. I don't hate her. I really don't. I will say Misfortune is actually kind of underrated. I like Misfortune in B. Thresh, however, I will say I am very much not a fan of Thresh. I could see it being D or F while we're on the topic. I hate Thresh. I think Thresh just has like no application, absolutely horrible. It's just another cringe like I clicked my button, I won the game emote. God, Thresh is so F tier. Thresh is so F tier. This is actually the worst emote. So let me get to Fizz. Fizz is interesting. I'm really not a big fan of Fizz. I think it is overrated and overused for sure, but what I will say is it fits with the champ very well, so you do kind of have that synergy point there, and it does have pretty good applications. I'm very happy to put it in C tier. It is usable. It is something that, like, it's a bit overrated, and it is often used in a really poor way, but unlike Into My Trap, it actually does, like, have the ability to make a lot of sense in a decent amount of cases. Ezreal. Oh, man. Ezreal is really good. I will say I have underutilized Ezreal a bit. A lot of people like him in S. I think I'll put him in A for now. But I could actually move him to S at some point in time. We're gonna rearrange this a little bit. Okay, Draven, this is like the worst one ever, right? I don't think a single person is gonna disagree with me putting Draven in F. This is like the worst emote by like any possible metric. Nobody likes Draven. This is the one we can all agree on. I disagree. And there's a very simple reason I would put Shen in B, which is I think it's a worse version of Vlad. Now, before you get Vlad and you upgrade, you know, I wouldn't swap out Shen, don't get me wrong. But if you're looking for a GG emote, Vlad is better, Vlad is more versatile, Vlad is more unique, and there's just nothing Shen has over Vlad. I know a lot of people think Swoon is an S. I like Swoon. I really do. I think Swoon has a ton of viability. I think that Swoon is at least an A tier. I think that Swoon is an S tier. I'd happily put it in S. It's basically a better Jubilant Poro. So when I was running Swoon, I made the mistake of running it over the Lonely Poro slot, and it felt like A tier when I did that. But I think the trick is you want to run it alongside Lonely Poro, because it's a very, very different thing. Why is Swoon at S and Shen at B? You're unironically making me angry over Emo. Swimp? Yeah. We do have a bit of a female bias towards S. I am kind of a simp, huh? I was rooting for you, but I can't get behind Swoon. Okay, let me defend Swoon then for a second, okay? Usually you're going to be using this when you have like kind of like a bad RNG or something, or as a reaction to like the opponent. But like in its reactive potential, it is literally uncontested. Like when the opponent does their like sick BM finisher where they had like a crazy hand, what emote are you doing there apart from Swoon? Swoon is perfect. Swoon is absolutely amazing for that. Lux isn't bad. I will say Lux isn't bad, but I like Swoon a little bit better than Lux. And Happy Poro isn't bad too. These are the three good options for that. I like Swoon the best out of them. I've never liked Swain. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Swain C. I wouldn't mind putting it in B, but it just seems so overrated. Teemo's got to be F or D here. This is the original Teemo. It feels I personally I think this I would actually just put this straight up in F. I think this is a basically unusable emote. Like it denotes an incredibly niche situation. You are literally never you are never going to have like a situation where this really makes sense. And I don't think it's very well designed for Teemo decks. Like, yes, it is meant to be for like when you're playing a Teemo deck and your opponent needs to draw mushrooms to win. But even in that state, I don't think I would go for Teemo. So I don't think we can really give like synergy points for that. I'm not a fan of like what this emote is trying to do. I could see it in D, but I mean D and F are basically the same. Let's not kid ourselves, right? And we've got Vi. God, I literally never see Vi. Is Vi underrated? She's kind of the same as Gangplank, where it's like a boredom emote. I actually see Gangplank a decent amount. Vi is underrated. I feel like Vi is a bit underrated. I would kind of happily put her in C tier, honestly. Jinx? Is Jinx just in B? Jinx feels like kind of like the most solid B ever. Jinx easily S? Oh, no way. No way. No way. Not a chance. Not a chance. There's no way. Jinx is like the epitome of what it means to be B here, in my opinion. Like that one's pretty straightforward. That one's pretty straightforward. It's a solid bit of like, it's not like the meta build around, but it is something that's a staple. It comes back and it will come back again. Top of B though, yeah, we can order the tier list a little bit later. Now I've been informed that a lot of people really like the Yone This Is Fine. Oh, is it Yasuo? I don't fucking know. That, like, literally, guys, they all look the same to me. All fucking Ionians look the same. Describe the way in which they look different. Wink is Yone? Okay, they do actually look pretty different. That's a really good point. S? I don't know, man. Yone, maybe, I seem to be the odd one out here. A lot of people like Yasuo, or whatever this guy is. I like him. I guess. I don't even really like him. Okay, paint me the picture. What's this for? Better Ezreal. All your shit gets ruinated. This is fine. It just feels like it's never best in slot. It's like, if I get ruinated, there are like 3 emotes I would use before Yasuo. If I'm on a nut draw, I would use like 7 emotes before Yasuo. I would so much rather, if I get ruinated, I would so much rather counter with Swoon or Lux or Jubilant Poro. I don't like This Is Fine. I don't like what it does to that situation. I don't want to go for a neutral emote. This emote's just too neutral. I don't think it hits anything. I hate this. I hate this. I don't think it's even A. I don't think it's even A. Absolutely overrated. The most overrated emote in the entire game. I would use it behind these. Yeah, I would use it behind all of these, right? Yeah, let's make it C. Quinn. Quinn's pretty solid. Can Quinn escape A? Feels hard for Quinn to escape A. That one just seems like a lock. And I think at that point, the question is, are we ranking... Put that in D, just slide that in. Are we ranking Lux higher than Jubilant Poro? They're both really similar. Swain is totally D. Yeah, I agree. I was just about to like bump Swain to D. I think I'll bump Gangplank to D too. That's a close one. I think they're both kind of like tied. Maybe they're both A and Sad Poro and Darius are both B. Could that be right? Could Sad Poro and Darius both be B? They're so valuable. Something's gotta go here. Is Wink C? Yeah, I'm fine with like sad over Darius. I think I like that. I don't use Ezreal a lot, but literally every time I see him, he's great. Maybe he is just S. Maybe he has to be just S. I'm fairly happy with this as a start. So the question is, you know, what wants to be moved around? What are the candidates? Please switch Vlad and Cytheria. Vlad is more versatile. There's a chance I'm overrating Cytheria. I might bump Cytheria down, but I don't think Vlad can really be S. Is Fiora? If Fiora is just F, Fiora seems like actually just terrible. I actually kind of hate Fiora. Didn't I drop Fiora at C? Man, maybe I am a simp. How the fuck did I put Fiora in C? Sleepy Poro is, I mean, we don't even know what the animation for this is like, right? This was just data mined. Swimp. I mean, Sleepy Poro is like a better Gangplank, right? I feel like when Sleepy Poro actually comes out, it will have to be a better version of Gangplank. That has to make it at least C, right? I think Braum is just like, it's not bad. It's a good starter emote, right? And I like that they made the starter emotes good, so it's like more balanced and less pay to win. It's solid. Like, you shouldn't swap it out for a while, but there are better options. Like, you will be able to upgrade into better things than Braum, I think. Maybe, I mean, if we imagine we live in a world where this like Sleepy Poro exists, then this is like the better anti-roping emote. If you want to be that kind of thing. I personally don't run anti-roping emotes. I don't think that's worth a slot, but I know a lot of people do. It's kind of like, wow, you're so good in a cheeky way. Exactly. That's exactly right. That's a sarcastic, you are so good. Partially, but not explicitly, not overtly. And that's important. That's important. Swoon is so good. Swoon is so good. I love Swoon. Like, it's just great. Huh is like the perfect, like, super subtle. This is low-key toxic. Huh is like the most toxic emote in the entire game, but it's very low-key about it. Cytheria, I'm not gonna lie, I might have a bit of a bias towards Cytheria. Maybe she goes in A. She can be used in a lot of situations, but she's never nuts in any one, which is like, I could see her being kicked down to A. I could see there only being like 3 S tier emotes. Because the thing to understand is like versatility is important, but you need to have that versatility as a bonus to like sometimes being the best emote or the only emote that can do something. And Cytheria never really has that. So, yeah. No, Cytheria's, she can't quite be S. Like, these 3 are insane. I think these 3 are in a tier of their own. I think nothing is on the level of these 3. But yeah, I quite like where things are at right now. This looks really good to me. This looks really good to me. We have a nice sort of narrow S tier. A nice gender neutral S tier. We've got a bunch of trashy emotes in F. Nothing in D is really used except by Mogwai. Our C tier is pretty legit. I could see something like Elise or Fizz swapping up a notch. Or maybe this is fine. I could see a few of those coming up. They're really not bad. I've been kind of impressed with C tier. I feel like D and F are absolutely awful, but even C's are like, anything C and above is kind of fine. I think Braum is solid, don't get me wrong, a little overrated. I think Shen is solid, a little overrated. I think that Lonely Poro is inescapable, actually. It feels so hard to replace Lonely Poro. Like, every time I cut Lonely Poro, I regret it. Like, because I'm constantly cutting Lonely Poro, and then 2 weeks later I add it back, and I'm like, God, why did I cut this card? Because it feels like there's nothing that can replace it. That's the thing. Like, and there's the ironic things, like, yeah, when they play like Ruination or whatever, you can use Swoon, and you can use Jubilant Poro, and you can use Lux, but I don't think that can replace Lonely Poro, because sometimes you will still want to Lonely Poro. Sometimes you still will want to. When they add new emotes to the game, not only will I add them to this list, but I will also adjust this list every time they add emotes. And it's very possible, you know, we'll be like a month from now looking at this list, and you guys will be like, Swim, what the hell were you thinking? Not having This Is Fine in S. Maybe you'll be right. You know, maybe the meta is gonna just look so fucking different. I don't know. Maybe I just don't get that emote. Make the perfect emote deck now. Okay, so my ideal emote deck. And obviously it's gonna depend a bit on the player, and it's gonna depend a bit on, you know, the cards. What are we here? Let's edit this one. Why not? So my ideal emote deck. I might try cutting the Cythria. I would need to play around with it more. You're seeing right now. You're seeing like kind of like semi experimental, just trying to mix it up a bit. I think I have been a little too overeager about Cythria. I do like potentially over Quinn, and Darius is nice but pretty flexible. So what I would do is something like this, and Vlad and Shen might actually be on the same tier, because I have swapped back and forth with them a little bit. But I would absolutely include all 3 S tiers. I do think these 3 are pretty auto-include. And in this case, I would want either Vlad or Shen for like a nice solid kind of like GG or potential start. And Darius in this case is kind of like the most flexible slot. It could be, I don't like Quinn right now just because I would kind of always use instead. You're gonna want something that's gonna be good for a specific. Honestly, the last slot's really up in the air. It could really be anything. Sad Poro is always not included, easily S tier. I might have to make it S tier. I feel like it could get replaced later, but I mean, you're right. I don't think it's really replaceable now. I think you guys are right. I think that is kind of the definition of S. Like, I don't think you can ever get rid of Sad Poro. I think it's impossible. I think I would never cut Sad Poro. So what I would say is I would say that these 4 are auto-include. Some people are going to disagree. I know some people don't like Swoon. If you want to run Jubilant Poro or Lux instead of Swoon, that's fine. If you want to run This Is Fine instead of Swoon, you're a psychopath. If you don't like Ezreal, there's a couple of other things you can run instead of Ezreal. I like Ezreal. I feel like it's really great, but it is maybe a bit more cuttable than the others. So I think that's pretty fine. We can go ahead and sort of like order the tier a little bit here. We can have like left be higher up, right? That's kind of like how these things usually work. So it's like Cythria, and then Vlad, and then Quinn, Jubilant Poro, Heimer. And we've got Braum. Misfortune can be lower down. Shen. Jinx is actually like, I don't know. Jinx is all right. I don't hate her. She feels a bit overrated. She feels a little bit overrated. Link feels kind of terrible. We've got... What's the worst emote in the game? Is it Draven? It's Swoon. What the hell, guys? Man, we'll see. I'll bring you guys around to Swoon. Yeah, Vi, maybe Vi is just not underrated at all. Maybe Vi just kind of sucks. Okay, so this is my tier list. We have ordered everything. The left is like, you know, the higher up in the tier, I guess. Not really like, doesn't really matter that much, but you know, in a vacuum, make it a little bit better. Okay, so yeah, that is the first like emote meta report. Now we don't have like great stat usage off of these, so they do end up a little bit anecdotal. And there's always going to be like disagreements, especially against like high level players.